just briefly about me. Let me turn off my video. Just briefly about me. I've been working with JDE Edwards now for 21 years, and as a solution consultant, architect for probably over 30 years now. And for the majority of the last 21 years has been JDE Edwards. Little bits into e-business suite, and I've got some familiarity with NetSuite and stuff. But JDE Edwards is my go-to. And as such, I kind of know my way around almost all the applications and functionality within JDE Edwards. Hence, one of my favorite pieces of JDE Edwards is the Orchestrator and Orchestrator Studio. So I'm a kind of a natural to get into Orchestrator. So today we're going to go into launching a workflow process from a logical extension. So the business case we're solving here today is the JDE Edwards, the P4210 or P42101, whichever sales order entry application you use, includes sales order holds for quite a few reasons. Credit check, margin checking, a total order approval hold, and I think there might be one or two others, but the need to place an order on hold or a line on hold based on a product type does not exist without some sort of customization. So what we're going to do here is use a category code in the item, master item, branch, plant, the category codes. We're using one of the first three category codes, which automatically gets populated in a sales order entry to identify a special product. This customer could turn this category code on or off. There's having a problem with this, so we want to monitor what's going on with this special product order, and then they can take it back off a special product category code. So with the low code, no code functionality that logical extensions provide, we can enhance sales order process to place these types of order line items on hold. Logical extensions were introduced in 926 release 22, and in 9263, which is where this current functionality was introduced.
You're not sharing your screen yet.
Oh, sorry. My gosh.
Sorry, I was like, wait, I know you said you were going to wait to share your screen for a minute, but I was like, I still don't see it.
Okay. How is it? My sharing it now?
Yep, you're good now.
Okay, sorry. Well, anyway, so hopefully everybody was listening to thanks for catching me on that one. So logical extensions were introduced in 926, 9263, which was the last release before 927. We can include a workflow process to route these hold orders. Now we could do similar functionality by using a notification and turning a logical extension into an orchestration and then triggering a notification. But workflows have more advantages to you guys and to the customers. They can include an escalation if this was routed for approval, this special product order, and it hasn't been responded to in an hour or two, we can escalate it. Workflows can have multiple steps. Have this person approve it and then route to another person and so forth and so on. And then also these workflows, these are standard JDE workflows. And even if you create your own workflows, which you can do, they're reported on by the workflow process task monitor. So you can monitor them for, are they working? How long is it taking for somebody to respond to them? And the status of them and report them. So this presentation is meant to show you how to add a workflow to a logic extension. That's what we'll be doing here shortly. So logical extensions, if you're not familiar with them, is part of Orchestrator Studio. And if you're not familiar with and you haven't done a logical extension, I would encourage you, as Brooke introduced the first slides there, in next week on Thursday is our next upgrade workshop where we will let you get hands-on and build a logical extension. I've got a workbook guide to walk you through it and support you as you try to build your first logical extension in Orchestrator Studio. So try and get signed up for that if you haven't done one. It's good to learn. So some of what we're doing today, be like, may not be that familiar with you, but you can get up to speed by joining in on one of our workshops. So, or logic extensions, you use, familiar functionality with the JDE. If you know alias field names, AN8 is an address book number. FO101 is the address book, or you can use views and things like that. And it's a kind of graphical and easily navigatable approach to enhancing and adding logic to orchestrations. It can do string manipulations, arithmetic. You can do file IOs. You can see here and here. You can do a while loops, to loop through things and handle errors of something something goes wrong. So, as I mentioned, the extensibility framework has been enhanced to enable users to start a workflow process from within the logic extension. So gives you more control over how the workflow process started, and really kind of integrates and flows your business processes through and enhancing your users' functionality and capabilities within it. Now, this particular webinar is on 9263 enhancement. 927 is already out, and I'm working on my next webinars, which will include some functionality in the 92 that was included in 927. You can call logic extensions from a form extension. So, you don't always have to turn a logic extension into a orchestration, which you did before. That to really put it on a E1 page or on an E1 application in a form extension. It allows for data set processing. You can input multiple fields or drag and drop a file into the logic extension to process it, and includes more things like aggregation support. So kind of you can leverage, summarizations or averages and things like that within the logical extension to do some analytics without programming skills. So those are just some of those to look forward. My next one will be a logic extension calling a workflow, which calls an orchestration. There's more functionality, not only in logic extensions, but in Orchestrator and in workflows as well. Those will be coming out. So watch for the future webinars. I've got a few already, I think, scheduled. I don't know if Brooks got them on the calendar yet or not. So this is a view of logic extension, what it looks like inside. And I've highlighted in here now the new feature, to include a workflow in the logic extension diagram, right? These are, and I'll show you an example of what I've done, and then we're going to have the existing logic extension and then add the workflow structure to it, workflow process to it, along with its structures to help you understand how that works. So the entry point into logic extensions comes from the Orchestrator Studio. And obviously, as you can see highlighted here, is the logic extension icon to work on. So with that, if I don't see any questions in Q&A, I do like to answer them as I go along. I'm not a procrastinator, so if I see something out there, I can jump on it and answer it. But if not, let's jump into a walkthrough and see this in action. Okay, so I'm going to log into my studio. And I'll go to the logic extension icon. And I have a logic extension already built, and I'll explain what it's doing for us. So this is my, I call it special sales order special products work in process, right? So let me zoom this in a little bit for us. So this starts with the logic extension. The first thing it's doing is setting some values. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to look at sales orders that are newly entered, status code 520. SO is the order type. Company key is 1, so we're looking at that. And I'm setting the values for the hold code that when this order gets, when it finds an order with a special category code of SP, it's going to put a hold code of XX on it. And then I've got some other values in here. I want to count how many orders I'm walking through and that. So I've got some other beginning assignment block values. So the first step in this is reading through the F4211, the sales order detail files, and it's going to iterate through all of the records looking for the key that I'm matching here. My company key equals to my defined key up front. This is just saying we're going to fetch next, and here is where we're going to go through each and every document, sales order within the F4211 file and pitch through it. And while it finds the success in here, that's what this equals success, we're going to do an if else. Actually, this was just saying while I have success in reading through it, and this is my if else. While if category code equals my category code that I've defined, so when it finds a category code in the sales order F4211, then we're going to loop through it. If it's true, we're going to update the sales order with our hold code, our XX hold code, right? And then it's also going to insert into the F4209. So F4209 is the sales orders on hold or purchase orders on hold table that there is the release holds application to release them from. The release hold application, I think, is a P43090, something like that. But we can walk through that. So, it's the P43070. So what we're going to do here, so after we update and we insert into the F4209, we want to add our workflow. So we're going to enter and create the order on hold. F42, the 4211 record gets updated, and then the sales order hold table gets updated. And then we're going to insert a workflow. We could either drag or drop it from our left template palette, or I can click plus in here and add the workflow in here. Once we've added in here, we're going to call this, label the workflow. We're going to say notify approver. Right. And it is a workflow. And we're then going to pick our workflow that we want to do. Now, for this example, I use the standard JDE SO entry workflow because it had everything I needed in it already, right? Here's my JDE SO entry, and it's showing you the version. It's got to be active, and we can populate that in here. So you could have created your own version, but this one worked just fine because what it had in it was the mapping to call the P43070 in its send message step. And I can show you this workflow if we need to look at it. But for our purposes here now, every workflow in JDE has two data structures required along with it, right? A key and then additional. So in our case here, our key data structure, and we want to click on the pencil here to edit it. And in here, then we can do our mapping for it. So we're going to input it, and we're going to map it, the order number, into our data structure that we had from our logical extension, right? So our order number, we're going to map in here, and then our order type, we're going to also map in here, and then the company also mapped in from the company fields that we've brought in as we read through the F4211 table, and had our current, this is an order number that has a special product on it in the category code. So we pull the order type, the company, and whatnot. So that's going to be key to populating and letting the user know and key into the P43070 approve release holds application. Working with logical extensions, it's all held in memory, so we've made our changes. I can just close that out. Now we can minimize the key data structure because we've got that completed, and we can edit the additional data. So this is where, for the P43070, it wants to know more about it, right? So our data structure, we're going to bring in the branch plant. And this is we're going to map it into the business unit that it found off of the F4211. We're going to bring in the hold code. And I think that's really all I needed in here. So for the table to call in here from it. So, okay. So now we've got our addition to our logical extension and our workflow mapped in. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, minimize this back out. And we're going to save the logical extension. Okay. At this point, I mean, we could turn this into an orchestration by going manage and create an orchestration and then work from it from there. But let's test it and see how if it's working for us. So I'm going to go into tools, then I can connect to my JDE HTML environment and pass my credentials over from the orchestrator, right? And here is my my JDE. So from my favorites, I'm going to pick a update sales order entry. This is the P42 101 that we put in here. I can see I've got other and no order. I have no orders in here today. But in here now, I can go ahead and add an order for a special product. So I'm adding an order to our customer, I think, capital systems, and we're going to order, branch plant 30. And we're going to order 1. And my item number, I define for the 210 SP for a special product. So if we scroll over here, we can see the status will be a 520. Let me call this up here. So my entry status is a 520. And if I look at the category code that got brought forth from the item master, we should see that it is a SP special product. Should have had I thought there is my SP. There's my category code that is going to drive the logical extension, right? So there's my SP. And that's just a natural, a standard flow within JDE that populates the order. So I'm going to go ahead and submit close it. I do a quick find on my orders today. And you can see there is no hold on this order. There's my SP category code. So when we run the logical extension, it should update this hold code to XX, put it on hold, and then should launch our workflow to notify the user. And in my environment, I don't have email server connected SMTP, so we'll get the message through the work center, but would work just as fine going through an email message to our approving user, right? So if I go ahead, I'm back in my workflow studio, in my Orchestrator studio, and we're going to go ahead and run this. All my variables in here. We can see that from the response from it, order numbers that it's searched on through, how many it's found in here. And then I think my last one here was 12161. Going back into JDE, there's my 12161 order. And notice as it ran, it put that order on hold. That's the standard process from the logical extension. If I log out now and log in as the approving user, and I kept it simple. I just coded a user into it, but we certainly could have read through a table or a file and picked the user and and updated that with more. But my approving user, Jody, if we look at her work center, we can see, and I had it in her electronic workbench. See, here's the message that came from the workflow, order number 12161, sales order entered by, I guess I didn't have any dollar value on there, sorry about that. It is on hold. It requires Jody's approval. So Jody can then react in the work withheld orders, which takes her to the standard order to release. This is the P43 070 version Z JDE for sales order entry. And she can simply highlight and then release that order. And it will release the order. It's no longer here being on hold. And if we go back to our other user, we can look and see that the sales order has been released. Use my query for today's sales orders. And you can see the hold code is now gone. It's still a special product category code. And we can always go back now, since it was a workflow. Remember I said one of the advantages of using a workflow versus like just sending a notification is that you can view the workflows in the process task monitor in here. So here's our process monitor.
There is one question that was just asked. Do you want to answer it now or at the end?
Sure, I'm almost done through this. Let me just show you this one. So let's see here, 12161. I guess I got, and so we can look at the history of this guy. It was started, released. I don't know, I must not have had something completed in my workflow, but you know, there you can see each and every step, you know, who it was assigned to. This was reviewed by Jody Bennett, and then released. So yeah, it didn't. I had to update the status. I should have one more step in my workflow to map that in. So I just wanted to point out that as we're doing this in workflows, you know, that you can monitor and enhance, like I said, with Orchestrate with and whatnot. So okay, so so Denise Buer, how could we notify the user so they don't have to check their work center? If you had her email, if you have an email server set up, that workflow, that work center, it would just go right to her email. Additionally, we could add another step in there and do a notification where it could show up in their notifications. And the notifications, if you're not familiar with notifications from the Orchestrator, can also be subscribed to, and a user can send, you know, put their email address in and get an email and or a text. It will, if you have, you know, like if you have Verizon, you can, when you do your, let's see what I got out here to show you. If you had a notification in here, you could have they could subscribe to that notification and then put, you know, like Verizon with their phone number.com, and it will text it, right? So these are all notifications that are environment and set up in this environment. So you notice when you're in here, you know, you could go to email, and in here you could go to their phone as a text message or to their email. So, but that's adding one more step, which is a notification. But even without notifications, as long as you have an email SMTP server, so Jody, and if you're not familiar with this, we can look at her address book. And this was, I think it was Jody Bennett. With the SMTP server set up, you would go into her Who's Who and set her communication preferences for email or internet to be her email address, right? So this could be, you know, Jody at, you know, my company, you know, .com. And then when that notification goes, it would go to her as an email to it. So then we just make this her primary. Then we could have the internal one as a secondary, and so forth and so on. This could also go to a group. You know, you could set up a address book group, a hierarchy, and instead of just going it to one individual, you could go to more. How's that? Was that what you were looking for, Denise? Yep. Okay, great. All right. So that's really from the intent of this. All I really intended to do. You know, well, I should have my email in here. I'm sorry about this, guys.
Oh, I've got it on mine, so I can.
Okay, pass it back to Brooke.
Share my screen?
Okay. Yeah, I'll stop sharing and then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I knew that's why you were here
to
wrap it. Yeah.
Awesome. So do you want to speak to this or do you want me to do? It's up to
What's
you.
that? Go ahead.
Okay. So just so you know, if you guys would like to discuss any further, please feel free to contact us for free consultation. Bud's email is currently listed on the screen. You will be also getting a follow-up email as well with the information from today's webcast, as well as our contact information. There is one more question we've got. It says, will this work for RMA orders as well, from Denise?
Yes.
Okay.
You would change the doc type, right? We're working at RMAs could be a little more complex, right? Whether it's an R6 or an R8, whatever type your order, but generally when you create an RMA, right, you know, you have an SO to replace the item, or, you know, you get a little more depth, but it's not this kind of architecture is not, you know, just limited to my sales order. You know, it could be for a credit order if you're going to give them from the RMA, or an OM to receive it back in, or just even the R8 or R6 master RMA document number. So would not be prohibitive. In fact, if you want to walk through that, give me a call or shoot me an email, and we can discuss how we can do it. Yeah, so yeah, R8 or R9, perfect. Yep. Okay. I'm familiar with them, so we could actually work on that and tweak my existing one and show you. You can export and import, you know, logic extensions and orchestrations and everything. So cool. Good question.
Awesome. Thanks, bud.
Yeah. Yeah. Tiered approvals based on negative amounts. Yes. You know, if then else is supported within the logic extension. You might want to join in and work and get a little more familiarity with logic extension, because I in our workshop coming up next week, if I don't know if we have room on it or not yet, Brooke, but Denise, you might want to join in. We can go get a little more hands-on, a little more familiarity with what the power of logical extensions is. We certainly could do that. In fact, I often thought about using the requisition self-service, you know, tiered approval tables, which are already there, to drive an approval routing. So good questions. Yeah.
Looks like we got one more rolling in. Okay, yep, Denise, I will definitely send you that. Right. I'm gonna do a few follow-up items, and then I think we have a couple more questions after that.
Yeah. So, and Mike, I will answer your question. You absolutely could, especially in 9271, you can link your logical extension right to a JDE form extension. So based on clicking OK or, you know, submit and close, or, you know, it can fire off that logical extension right from the JDE app, you know, within it. So, yep. And build a little more complexity into it, you know, have the same hold code, but different people responsible by product category. Again, you know, the logical extension will support that kind of stuff. If, you know, hold code equals XX and cat code equals, you know, SP1, then go here, or SP2, go there. We just have to enhance it a little bit, but very doable, Mike. Any other questions?
Mike just said, great, thanks, bud.
All right, thanks. Okay, guys. All right, well, I'll let you get some of your day back. Thank you for joining. Like I said, I've got more webcasts and webinars coming up and workshops. You know, you can go to getgsi.com and look under JDE and events, and we're happy to. I
can actually share a couple I have a couple things to share real quick before we log off. Mm-hmm. If you do want to sign up for any of our educational resources, like Bud was saying, we have webcasts, newsletters, YouTube, events, workshops. You can go out to our website at getgsi.com. And when you go out there, like right now, we've got the JD Edwards upgrade workshop happening on the 12th. I think it might be full, but I can definitely post a link in here and you guys can click on that. But if you go out to our website, you can see right here, this is our main page. You can click on resources, JD Edwards, and then there's webcasts, blogs, newsletters, conferences, and events. And that's how you can actually see everything that we have going on. Also, we share all of our, if you stay connected with us on social media, all of our handles that are listed on the screen. There's free educational videos. We also have, we share industry insights, what's happening with GSI as well. And we also have a YouTube channel. I will post a link in the chat for that as well. And you guys can go check that out for all of our great educational content. We put all of our recorded webcasts out there as well. Also, there will be a survey coming up after. It'll pop up in the screen. And if you could just go out and take a survey for us, it helps us to know, you know, to tailor these a little bit, more to you guys as to what you would like to see, or you know, any content that might appeal to you, or if you have any questions or suggestions. So we want to thank you guys for joining us today. And thank you, Bud, for your presentation. I have Bud's contact information currently listed on the screen if you have any further questions, as well as our website, getjsi.com. And one last question from Denise, Bud, actually. Would there not be an issue with JDE warning messages launching the logic extension repeatedly for approvals to the user?
Take me off of mute. You could do a fire and forget, which would just fire that off. And, you know, then the warning messages could still be there, whatever it would be, or you could handle the warning messages with a error condition within the logical extension. But ideally, I would just do a fire and forget when you, I didn't show you that one, but there's a switch to turn that on. And that'll allow the whole logical extension or the whole workflow to continue on with whatever is going on. So wouldn't be necessarily an issue. It just depends on how you want to handle it, you know. So
great, thank you so much, Bud.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. We hope
thanks, guys, and Happy New Year's to everybody. So
yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right. Bye.